Yeah. It's the first. It's the first. It's the first episode. It's the first. Might be your last.
But I'm looking for my first.
First episode podcast. Welcome to First Episode Podcast, a cherry popping debrief of your next binge worthy television series. I'm your host, Motown Maurice.
I'm Atara G.
And I'm guest host, Raj Jawa.
Today we're cherry popping Twilight of the Gods.
Sigrid, an iron-willed warrior, saves Leif, a mortal king, who falls in love with her. They both survive Thor's wrath of terror, which embarks them and a crew of crusaders on a merciless mission for vengeance against all odds.
The genres are action, adventure, animation, fantasy, mystery, and I actually do think there's a genre here that's missing: folklore and folktale.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Mythology, right?
Mythology.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good things in here. And I'm going to get into that theme that I noticed immediately upon watching this show, which is passion. These characters are passionate about fighting. They're passionate about family. They're passionate against the gods. They're passionate about speaking. And they are passionate about lovemaking.
Mm-hmm. Suki now.
Some of the lovemaking scenes that I saw in this show is the most intense I've seen on an animation ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
Like, very, graphic.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong?
We're talking oral sex. No, no, but it's true. Yeah, I mean, no, you are right. I mean, especially the oral sex scene. Like, I had not, that to my knowledge, seen that in animation thus far. I've seen it in movies, a couple live action movies. But yeah, and I'm sure it is in animation, but that would be my first time. That would be my cherry popping experience to oral in animation.
It's implied. So in animation, you always see implied oral sex, but this time you saw it. He
That's
went,
fair. Yeah.
He dived right in.
There's nudity. You're going to see nudity. We've seen that before. We've seen that a handful in Castlevania. But the gesturing, she took his hand and said, "You're going to place it right here." I'm like, whoa. And y'all was describing what the Valkyrie did earlier.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, no, it's true. The Valkyrie, the
mouth play.
Yeah, putting it's there. I'm not sure, but finger in Sigrid's mouth and then tasting it. Very one. I didn't have much comment for this, but kind of the internal essence is a big thing in this show. The essence we have as either humans or the thing you can maybe taste even.
That was very dominating act.
For sure.
And then she was like, and then flew off.
See, I kind of felt, not that it was at all similar in how it played out, but I almost felt that why I came up with eternal essence was similar to him having sex with her, having oral sex with her. It felt very much in the same type of I want to experience your body, experience what's inside of you. I want some of that inside of me as well. That's the way I read it. Maybe that's not what they intended, but between those two scenes, I definitely got a sense of that essence being really important.
Well, Valkyries are fierce warriors, and so essentially they were observing Sigrid on the battlefield, fighting fiercely and passionately. And so I could almost see the Valkyrie coming down and be like, maybe this is a recruit. Well, let me taste her and find out.
Is this a steak? Is this a steak right here? Yeah.
Is this Prime or is this USDA?
This show, good first impressions.
I'm going to watch this show. Let me tell you why. I like mythology. And growing up, I was very much into Greek mythology. I very much enjoy Norsemen and Viking mythology. I very much like it and enjoy it. So I will be watching this show.
The mythology is there. I did not realize, I wasn't familiar with Norse mythology. I didn't realize how much Thor was a part of that mythological world. I'm familiar with Thor and Marvel. But I didn't know he was such a vital character in those worlds.
Yes, because Thor talks about Valhalla all the time, and that Valhalla comes from, it's an aspect of Viking culture.
Thor in Marvel is ripped right out of the mythology.
Mm-hmm.
The Ragnarok, the Valhalla, as you mentioned. It's a good show. When you watch this show, you're getting some animated Game of Thrones in a sense. I read somewhere that there's dragons, so that's something to look forward to. But it's definitely it's exactly that. If you want to compare it to anything, it's an animated Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I really enjoyed the first episode. I'll go ahead and get right into my theme. Did you finish your theme? Are you done?
I'm done with my theme. You even touched on yours, Raj, right?
A little bit. That wasn't technically my theme. Mine was kind of this divine acceptance or retribution. I don't know if it's a good theme, but like it ties into both, like I said, the Valkyrie taste, Thor's wrath, and really the feeling in not only this show, but I think Norse mythology in general is, because they live amongst the gods, it's not just like, oh, pray to God and now I have a good harvest. They are literally like, if I don't pray to God, or if I say, fuck Thor or whatever, he's going to come down and slaughter my family or slaughter my fields or both or everything. Basically, it's not as simple as just like, oh, I pray to gods and I get fortune and I get misfortune because I didn't. They will come down and exact their retribution upon you, which is an interesting spin. It's almost more allegorical, I suppose, of Norse mythology.
And that's interesting too, because I like that you bring that up, because they're almost persecuted by the gods.
Yeah.
The gods are like, oh, the humans are over there having a good time. Well, let me go fuck that up. It's like they're always looking for some reason to bother them. But at the same time, if you know about mythology or Greek mythology, one of the reasons the gods begin to cease to exist is because human beings stopped believing in them. So it's almost like the reason they got to come down and bother the human beings is so
to keep them fearful,
keep them believing in them so that they can maintain their power.
I feel like there was a movie that did that, where like the gods were like influencers and they had to get like a certain number of followers or whatever, or maintain a certain number of followers to keep their power. There was something like that. I know there was something like that, but I don't know what it is.
That would be a good movie.
That's an interesting idea. And you brought up a really interesting dynamic about the gods when we were talking off camera, Atara, is that the gods doesn't interfere with each other's actions.
Right. And so that's a good segue to my theme, which is, I have two themes I took from this: loyalty and vengeance. You see loyalty and vengeance with the gods, and you see loyalty and vengeance with Sigrid and her king. So when Thor comes down to where the giants are, and he has the gold god with him, I can't remember his name. It started with a B. Let's just call him the gold guy. The gold guy who was his brother, and Thor's like there, and he's like, I'm looking for Loki. If you guys don't deliver Loki, I'm gonna bust up this situation. And then the gold brother was like, Thor, you don't want to do this. And Thor went ahead and killed everybody.
Massacred.
A genocide, because the kids went off and hid. And he went and actively looked for them. There was only 3 of them. He could have left them alone, but he went and actively looked for them, killed them, and then was like, are there any survivors? And of course, there were 2 survivors. But when he asked his brother, the gold guy, if there were survivors, the gold guy was like, no, you've killed everybody. Your labor is done. But the gold guy just stood by and let Thor do whatever he wanted. If he really felt anything for the human beings, he would have intervened. But in my opinion, what stopped him is loyalty. He's loyalty to the cause of the gods. And so if this god is going to come down here and break up the house party, I'm not going to stop him.
And you said that this is something that's common throughout mythology. They won't interfere.
Yeah, they don't interfere. Unless if it's like God on God business, then they'll interfere. But when it comes to God on human business, they just stand by and watch.
I guess humans to the gods are a bit of a
Pawns.
a minority class or a lower class that
Yeah.
it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we don't need to worry. They're fighting with the help. It's all good.
Yeah, and it's like it's very kind of the dynamics that we have here. You've got the 2% of the very wealthy, and then you've got the rest of us.
Yeah.
But why are that 2% so wealthy? Because the rest of us are down here laboring and buying all their stuff and giving them all our money, and we don't recognize our power. But let me just bring it back to so that's the loyalty part for the gods. And then we've got the loyalty between the king and Sigrid. So basically we have Thor comes down, kills her whole tribe, and she looks at him and she says, we agreed we would go wherever we go together. Right? She's asking him this. And he's like, yes. Because she's like, before I die, I'm going to kill Thor. So basically she's asking him, she's calling upon his pledge of loyalty. I'm letting you know I'm about to go buck wild. I hope you're still on for the ride. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then Thor showed up anyways looking for Loki because he had some vengeance he wanted to exact upon him. And now Sigrid is caught up in this quest of vengeance against Thor. So that's pretty much what I got out of it, is vengeance and loyalty, which is when you're looking to the whole God situation, even here in the real world, when you've got heaven and hell and earth and whatever, it's all vengeance and loyalty.
For sure. I mean, there's at least one story from mythology about one of the humans trying to get revenge on the gods. I don't know if it's Homer, because I know he dealt with a lot of god-like interference in his travels. But yeah, I feel like there is at least one character that's very much like that's his mission. I almost wonder, though, is that a fool's errand? A human going to kill a god? Like, how does one do that? Like, I don't even think it's possible. It's like almost like the T series. Like, how are you going to kill it? It is full of unobtainium or whatever the hell it's full of. Like, you can't. How does a person kill a god?
When you realize the power that you have over the god. But most of us we don't realize that we have power. In this story, they are yet to realize they have power over their gods, and that comes down to faith. The more faith you have in something, the more it exists and the more powerful it is in your life.
After what we've seen Thor do to those giants, Sigrid is probably going to obtain a power to take down Thor, because there's no way she can just do that with her mortal strength.
I think you're forgetting it's the power of love. It is the power of
Passion.
love that
She's
will...
going to defeat him with passion.
That's right. He cannot watch them do the oral sex again. It's like, I can't do this. I can't do this again. It's just too much essence.
Essence.
That's a good one.
But yeah, a woman scored is a very powerful force, especially when you've killed her child or her family. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
You know how they have that whole saying now? Fuck around and find out.
Well, the question, I don't know if we probably are not going to be able to figure it out. We're going to have to watch more to find out. The question is, what the hell did Loki do for Thor
Loki
to
is
be?
always up to something.
Yeah.
Hello.
I mean, I must feel like they introduced Loki in his human form almost like a devil in this series. Like, she's basically fallen through a waterfall of blood, and he's even like, I have baptized you, or I've made you drink blood so you can get a taste of your whatever mission you're going to go on. It's like, all right, devil, cool.
I think he set it up. Because
The way, did you think that was Loki when you saw him in that lizard form?
No, the fact that they kept cutting to the lizard gave me idea that it was important. I thought maybe it was the Iwaju lizard. No,
I know.
No, but I was clear that the lizard was somebody. I did not know it was going to be Loki necessarily.
well, as soon as Thor showed up saying, I'm looking for Loki, I was like, oh, that was a
It's got to be the lizard.
That's
Speaking
fair.
of the lizard, though, it's worth watching Iwaju.
Is it?
Yeah.
The lizard device. All right.
the lizard device, to see that lizard device.
All right.
It is epic.
I'm sure.
Epic. You gotta wait till like the last episode or the last two, but it's worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if that is if that AI device came on the market, I would buy it. I would buy that lizard.
Yo,
Sure.
straight up. But yeah, Loki. I mean, Thor was pissed. Yeah, I am really curious to see what to find out what Loki did.
I think he knew Sigrid and her king were on their way there, and he needed for some reason he needs a strong human ally against Thor, and so he set it all up. Because when he said to her, I can't remember exactly what he said to her at the end about killing Thor. It was as if he knew that's where she was going to end up, and so they could ally together.
For sure. I mean, I don't know if this ties in that well, but when I talked about how they were cursing the gods before the giant wedding, I was curious if it was that attitude, that F the gods attitude, that was what attracted Loki to that place in the first place. I think he was at other places too, so it doesn't quite fit the theory very neatly. But I was wondering if it's like their kind of F the gods attitude is what attracts a figure or a person like Loki to kind of hang around. It's like, oh, this is a safe spot for me because they don't like the gods here. I'm just curious if that was at all a part of that plan.
Yeah. I think Loki is also like F the gods, because amongst the gods, he's like the outlier.
Right.
And so he just happens to be a god, but he's also like F the gods because the rest of them don't like me. But he's always doing dumb stuff.
Right. Well, and Marvel plays Loki much more like a trickster. I don't know about the TV show, but like in the movies, he's much more of just like, oh, playful trickster. Maybe sometimes they go too far, but
I put salt in your coffee.
This seems much more destructive a force.
Yeah.
So
Marvel plays Thor like a hero.
Yeah.
But is Thor actually a hero in the mythology?
I don't think so. I think Thor is closer to this portrayal, is in my understanding of Thor, but I also might be confusing him with other figures that are equally bad. Like Zeus is also known for being pretty petty and angry and wrathful.
Well, in mythology, I think Thor, he's the one who brings the sun across. He rides a chariot and brings the sun across the day every morning.
But if I'm not mistaken, he's also, like they portrayed him, an alcoholic, vengeful. Marvel touched on some of that as well, because once he fell into his negative pattern and gained weight, he kind of became this like slothful.
But all the gods are that way.
True.
It's just depending on what mood they're in. They all have that side to them.
True.
Or it just depends on a human. Are you the one worshiping at my temple? Or are you worshiping at somebody else's temple?
For sure. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the women gods are also pretty vengeful as well. I can't think of an example
Hera.
at the moment, but yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. It is just seemingly a personality of the gods, and maybe it's the fact that they are literally better than them because they are immortal and not subject to human follies.
It's almost like they'll continue to live forever, but their power dies as humans stop believing in them. But they'll still live forever, just without power.
It's such an interesting conception of gods, though. I don't know are there any other cultures that conceive of gods as imperfect? Like, it seems like Norse mythology is one where they actually perceive gods with very human-like characteristics of vengeance, jealousy, sloth, greed. All these factors are in their gods as well, just as they're in humans. Almost seem like the more righteous force in Norse mythology, whereas every other religion, it's gods who are they are the divine, they are the perfect, they are everything we are trying to aspire to be.
Well, God, the Christian God, he is a jealous God.
Oh, you're talking about like Old Testament?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who? Jesus? You said?
God.
Oh, just God. Yeah. God. Well, to add on to what you just said, my research says that Norse gods were mortal. Unlike the gods of other cultures, the Norse gods were mortal, but they were unusually long-lived due to magical apples of the goddess Idun.
Got it. Those magical apples.
Another fun fact is
Were they
that,
red or green?
I know,
That's right. Honeycrisp?
Another fun fact, the Norse believed that the world would end in an event called Ragnarok.
Yes.
Ah.
You know, you've got the series Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys watch Vikings on the History Channel?
No.
I know you
So
did.
good.
You liked it?
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The Norse believed in 9 realms, including Midgard.
So they talk about Midgard in Marvel, which is where what's his face guards, like when they go the gate is in Midgard. The brother with the eyes, and he opens up the gate for Thor to go back and forth. That's Midgard.
Yeah, that's where the humans live, in Midgard, right?
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I have
Asgard maybe is where Odin's great hall Valhalla was located. All right, one more.
So I guess Midgard is like Middle Earth if we were thinking of
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah. One more little creation myth is the Norse believed that the world was created when the first gods killed a giant and used his body parts to create the universe. A lot of interesting stuff in this mythology.
Seems like it'd be hard to make a universe out of just body parts, but maybe that's something I don't know.
It's
I don't
science,
know
Raj. It's science.
Is it science? I think I could put those ingredients in a bowl. They're not going to come up with a universe.
It's weird science.
So, entertainment potential and cherries. This is good. This is exciting. I'm going to give it 4. I'm going to give it 4 because, I want to see what's going to happen. This is the type of stuff Atara and I vibe on. So, let's see what happens. I think 4 is a fair place.
I'm going to give it a 5 because I'm into this.
Ooh.
I haven't doled out a 5 in a long time.
It's been a while.
But I like it, you know.
Woman warrior type of stuff. Okay. Passion, love making. Hey. You're under a lot of pressure, Raj.
I know. I was going to give it a 3.
Oh,
I know.
Dang.
Well, I'll tell you. I think the
too much essence.
That's right. It's too much essence. We maybe have touched on this on previous episodes, but I'm much more drawn to technology than mythology. So I think, in putting Terminator Zero and this show like on the same pedestal, which they kind of have a vibe in the same way, I might probably watch Terminator Zero a little more than this one, just because it's interesting. Not to say any themes or anything else crosses over, but just kind of the way they did this first episode. It's intriguing, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't know where it's gonna go. Like, I almost could see this wrapping up, a bit of a tragedy, but almost like this is one episode and that's all you get. You kind of left to the mystery of it all.
It's going to be a tragedy.
Sure.
Mythology always
likely.
ends in tragedy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any happy ending that's going to happen out of this. But,
well, I mean, how do you come back from a genocide?
Yeah, you just got to rebuild, I guess.
I mean, did you see those flowers that came up in the crater that was left where their village was?
Yeah, maybe that's because the children had been there,
True. I wondered if that was supposed to be like a symbolism for rebirth. Like, almost like if you thought of this less as a genocide or humans actually being slaughtered and more of like a rebirth of the earth. I don't think that's what they were going for, but the fact that the flowers grew like immediately, it just made me think of like, that's really fast for kind of rejuvenation to happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sigrid was reborn. And then she was baptized in blood and reborn into vengeance, if you want to think about it like that.
That's true.
She went from love, the lap of love, to bloody vengeance.
Literally the lap of love. Sorry. That'll be the last one.
Oh, Raj got some zingers with this one.
The title of this show is Twilight of the Gods. It was released Thursday, September 19th of 2024. There's currently one season out, a total of 8 episodes.
The average episode duration is 30 minutes. It is on Netflix. The IMDb rating right now is 7.4 out of 10, and the Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 75%.
Will there be a season 2? The question everybody wants an answer to. What do y'all think? Predictions.
Well, let's go to the evidence, okay?
8 episodes.
8 episodes on Netflix. It's a no.
It has the feeling of a miniseries for me, but I couldn't say for sure because you could really, Norse, I keep saying Norse mythology is very vast.
Mm-hmm. Well, on September 19th, that's the anniversary of my arrival in LA. Celebrated 14 years recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The creative team is planning a return to the Norse god world.
That means nothing.
It means nothing. But it's yet to be green-lit officially. So they're planning. We shall see what happens. Nothing is official. Those are our thoughts on Twilight of the Gods.
Thank you for trusting us.
We are honored to be your first.
For information about this podcast and more, please visit motownmaurice.com.